But I think the big deal right now is really it's like gaining that market share. Is that you know what I'm saying by that?
Yes, for sure. And now's the time to do it.
I really believe that. I think, because the good thing about building market share now, and not that we're happy about this, it's just the way that it is. There's less than half the loan officers left,
Yes,
and people are still buying houses, and not just a few, like a lot.
a
You know,
lot. Yeah.
yeah, and so when there's way less competition by half, that we can really get in some great market share. And then as things turn around, which they always do, right? Don't know when, but always do, and the market gets even better than what it is now, and you've got a certain, let's say you've got a 5% market share. Well, 5% of twice as many homes being sold means that you grow by twice as many. And
Yes.
I also find like getting these referral partners is easier than ever because again, half of them have lost a loan officer that they used to refer to because they tapped out of the business. So does that make sense?
It does. And here in Phoenix, where I live, boy, the market's just booming. It's
Yeah,
doing great. And in other areas too. So it's not dependent on the market. This is happening all over the country.
yeah. You know why I think half the loan officers are gone? I think half of them are gone because they didn't identify themselves as a real business. And they identified themselves as a loan officer and not a mortgage professional with a team. Like they're
Yes.
like the lone ranger out there, doing everything.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of relying on a team to help them move forward and to have that team doing some of the loan closing stuff,
Mm-hmm.
whereas a loan officer, I had a big shift in my business. I was very blessed early on. I had somebody teach me, said, Carl, you're not a loan officer. You're a marketer of your services, and your
Yes.
services happen to be that of a loan officer.
Yes.
And to identify myself as a business owner, even though I work for somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
that it's still my, I'm using air quotes, business,
Yes.
and treating it like a business and having a team, even when it was skinny, even when it was skinny, having a team to help myself. So today I'm talking with Miss Irene Duford, with that does the Wow Loan Team training,
Mhm.
and so it's always good to talk to you, Miss Irene. Always a
You,
pleasure.
Carl.
Yeah. And so on the team stuff, a lot of loan officers will go, hey, well, you know what? Things are kind of skinny, now, and I really can't afford, to have an assistant right now. And like, why now? Like, is this something I should hold off on? And you talk about market share, like, why now?
I have seen loan officers that hold off and then it gets busy again. And then they're running, trying to catch up, trying to find the right person. By that time, the people are gone. The great unicorn people are no longer available. And remember what it was like in 18, 19, 20, 21, trying to find good help? It was brutal
We
trying to
we
find good help.
we were we were recruiting taxi cab drivers to come and act as loan partners and processors. Literally, I mean, it was desperate. What do
Yes.
you think? Like, what do you think about like let's say you and I, let's say I want to go get an assistant,
Mhm.
and we'll talk about why I'd get an assistant. But let's say I go to get an assistant. How do you feel about like me and you, and I'm using me and you hypothetically, like
Yeah.
me and the loan officer down the street, which may or may not even work for the same company that I do. Is it easy to share an assistant? Like when things are, look, let's face it, things are skinny, right?
Yes.
Things are skinny. Is that a viable option? Like sharing an assistant with, i.e. a competitor?
I've never seen anybody do that unless the person has like a processing company and they also have loan officers that they or loan assistants that work for them. That might work, but otherwise, I wouldn't say that you can share them because I don't think companies, big companies at least, I don't think they'll allow you to work for more than one company at a time. And that might be a
So it'd
compliance.
be better. So it'd be better to find somebody else in my branch or somebody like, let's say
Yes.
I work for, and I'm not going to name any names here, but ABC Mortgage, and we
Hmm.
have a branch here in Florida, and we have a branch in Georgia, and we have a branch in Phoenix, Arizona.
Hmm.
That finding people in my own organization, same company,
Yes,
sharing an assistant, even though we might work in different branches,
definitely.
that more of a viable option.
Yes. And we've had people come through our training that have one assistant that covers 5 loan officers, 6 loan officers, depending on how busy they are. And so that works really well. I think that's a good way to get started. When loan officers have asked, well, what do I do? I can't really afford an assistant. I'm only closing 2 loans a month or 3 loans a month. Then we have them share. There usually is somebody, if they're in a bigger company, there usually is somebody that they can share with
That's how
until
I got
they get
started.
enough. Hmm.
My first assistant I shared with one other person. In that case, he was in my same branch. His name Dave Hoyt was the other loan officer, great guy. And my first assistant was Lori. And well, my first one was actually Lori that I shared with him. And and I remember telling him, saying, "Hey, look, I'm going to be ramping up, because she's going to pull me off of all that stuff that holds me back.
Hmm.
Um, and as we ramp up, I'm going to be using her more and more and more. And just FYI, at some point, my plan would be to need her full time.
Hmm.
But in the meantime, she'll be helping you ramp up. Um, and you'll see what a great assistant is, or maybe she ends up being a terrible assistant and you learn what not to do. As it turned out, she was wonderful,
Uh-huh.
and did after a period of time, she was just mine, because come to find out, when I have somebody doing all the stuff that I didn't like doing, and I could focus in on the stuff that I like doing,
Hmm.
it really grew. I tell you something else I found out too. When sharing an assistant, I equated, like right now, I'm sharing my internet connection, right? I'm sharing it with other people. I don't know who they are, but
Hmm.
other people here in my neighborhood, that whatever wire is connecting me right now to the internet,
Hmm.
I'm not the only one on that wire, right?
Right.
But it's invisible to me because I click the button. You and I are on a Zoom call. The
Mhm.
video is flawless, especially with your wonderful face on it. It makes it even more flawless. That I can't tell I'm sharing, right, this internet connection with, I don't know, one, two, 100
Mhm.
other people. And so as long as I'm sharing an assistant and everything's getting done, what do I care if it's another two or three loan officers, that they're helping? How do I know I have somebody good, Irene? Like if I hire somebody, how do I how do I know if they're good?
You mean before hiring them?
Yeah.
Yes. So there's 2 ways to tell whether they're good. One is after they're already with you. We can talk about that in a second, but getting the right person. I have a whole checklist. It's a loan assistant checklist to hire them, hiring a loan partner. And it goes from A to Z, and it's finding the right person. Make sure they have their unicorns. If you should find a unicorn, someone who knows the business, is great with people on the phone. They live your standards, your values, the things that you want the client to feel. They've got to be that kind of person. And you can tell when you meet them, depending on what's important to you as a loan officer. And so making sure that's done, and then making sure that they have the experience. That's the thing that gets left out the most. It's like you and I, when we talk to people, we like people, right? So it's easy to hire somebody that we like, but that's not necessarily somebody who is really, really good at what they do just because we like them. And so if you bring the wrong person on, the way to avoid that is to make sure that you are testing them. If a person is really, really good at what they do, they're not going to mind being tested. And if they
Hmm.
do mind being tested, like give them a fake file, talk different strategies with them, different loan scenarios with them. I hired a processor once, Carl. She came to me and said, I really want to be a processor. I'm here from Vegas. I used to own my own company, all this stuff. She came in and I gave her a loan. This was back in the day when you gave files. It was this thick with the client information. He had a bankruptcy. There was child support, back child support, all this stuff wrong with it. And I was getting ready to put it together. And I said, here, put this together. And she put it together in like an hour and a half. She had it all organized, ready. She had all the details of everything that needed to be checked, everything you can imagine. And I said, you're hired. right on the spot.
Mm.
And she had the personality and she had follow-up skills, which were like no other. So those are the things you're looking for in a loan partner or loan assistant, not anything about marketing, because that's not what they do. So we're not looking for someone like us. We're looking for somebody that is more detail oriented, that's great with people, and they take great care of the clients and the referral partners when they call in. So testing them is the thing that the loan officers miss the most. Right before.
So, I hear this argument sometimes, not argument, debate. I hear this debate from time to time. Hire, like they don't need to be experienced. That I'm looking for the person with the right attitude, and other people say, hey, only hire if they have experience. Where do you fall on that scale?
I'm I like hiring with experience, but if a person is only closing a few loans a month and they don't have the reserves that they need to have, sometimes depending on what they're doing, they could go and get trained. We have a boot camp for loan assistants in training them A to Z on loans. So they could send them to be trained and you could have them pay for half of it. They could pay for
Mm,
half of it. But if they've got the right attitude, they have great customer service skills, they are they love to help you, they love to help people, all of that, but they just don't have the knowledge, but they catch on really quick. You can tell if people catch on really quick. You give them something, show them during the interview, and see how quick they catch on.
yeah. Yeah, I've always I like the idea that you train our people for us, because the one thing I found is that if I'm training them, well, that causes a problem.
Does.
So I took on this new person that I'm, paying, right? And so that person needs to help me close more loans so that they're not an overhead, but they're a profit center, right? All
Yeah.
my assistants are, they don't cost me money. They all 100% make me money.
Hmm.
And if I'm the one training them, then they're not doing the work because I'm doing the work. And I'm not doing the prospecting work because I'm doing the training work. And
Exactly.
so now instead of closing more loans, now I've got an additional mouth to feed and I'm closing less loans because I'm not out prospecting, I'm training.
Yes.
And I've always thought it's way easier to write a small check and have somebody else train them, and
Yes.
that I could focus in on doing the loan getting stuff.
Hmm.
And then within, 60, 90 days, they're up to speed and doing the loan getting stuff with me and making sure that I can go out there and do prospecting. You talk about this thing of shadowing. What do you mean by that?
I like shadowing where the loan assistant or loan partner comes in and they actually shadow how the loan officer talks to his clients, how he
Mm,
relates or she relates to the clients, kind of how they word things, the scripting they use. And all they're doing is listening in on the phone, muted, of course, and they're listening in and seeing how they talk to them. And the same thing with the rest of the team. If it's a bigger team, how does the rest of the team talk to people? And that way they get a good feel for how that person relates to people. And then they can be a chameleon and talk to them like they do.
mm,
It makes people feel really comfortable when the
mm.
message feels the same from everybody on the team.
Yeah. When should I get an assistant?
Right away. That's my idea. I really believe that because if you're now, let me ask you a question, Carl. I'm going to go back to that question in a minute, but I want to ask you, you mentioned when you first got in the business, and I've
Yeah.
never asked you this question, so people want to know what Carl White thinks of this.
Oh
When
dear.
you first got in the business, how did you know that marketing, I know they told you that marketing was what you should do, not work on the loans, but how did that come naturally for you? Did you want to go market or did you do it just because that's what you knew needed to be done to succeed?
Um, I went to a conference real early in my career, like maybe it was a second month or something like that.
Mhm.
And there was a guy that said something that I never forgot. And I hesitate bringing this up because some people might misinterpret what he meant by it. So if
Yeah.
you knew the person, you knew he was saying it out of coolness and not out of anything shady. But
Right.
what he said was, they're like the New York Times best selling list. It's not the New York Times best written book. It's the New York Times best selling book. So he said it's not about writing the best book. It's about selling the book. And so it's more important to market the book than it is even to write the book. Now, he wasn't saying go write a book with crayons that's a bunch of gibberish and trick people into buying it. That's not what, if you knew the guy, that's totally not what he's saying.
Right.
Right? Have a phenomenal product that you're selling, i.e. your mortgage services, right? Have a phenomenal mortgage experience for your borrowers, close on time, give everybody updates, follow up on the leads like green on a pickle, provide an amazing experience. But the priority, or I shouldn't say and the
And
priority is marketing your services, because it's the best selling loan, not the best written loan.
yes.
And I really thought about that, and I thought, well, that's the secret sauce is I've got to be out there marketing my services. So how it worked out for me, at first I saw as a disadvantage, but now I know it was a good Lord above really looking after me. I didn't know anything,
Mm,
like nothing about mortgages. And so I immediately went and got some help. And she did know about mortgages. And I said, I tell you what, I'll go shake the trees and pick the oranges, and then I'll hand you the oranges and you make orange juice.
mhm,
And then when we get a little bit of time, you teach me how to make orange juice. So you teach me the loan programs and how they work and how to read a tax return. But right now, we got to get some business in the door. So I'm going to go get some business, and then I'll get the traffic, you convert that traffic. And then when we catch our breath, once we got a little headroom,
mhm,
then you can teach me this stuff and I'll know that part too, because I think it's really important. We never caught our breath. Like it never happened. And it's
mhm.
not by design, but as it turned out, it was like it's for sure the best thing that ever happened to me is that I didn't know all that stuff. Now I'm not telling people, hey, you don't need to know anything about the loan process. I'm not saying that, because somebody surely does.
Yes.
But I found that I made more money and got more clients and helped more people and impacted my community more by focusing in on the loan getting part. And then in my case, having Lori and Jeanette, and then the ever so Miss Wonderful Diane,
Mhm.
having them work on the loan process. Um, yeah, that was not by design. It was out of desperation.
Yeah.
And yeah, we never slowed up that they could teach it to me. And I never, to this day, it's not like
That was
it
your strong
is.
suit. It was marketing. It
Yeah,
was
it's marketing our services is for sure my strong point. And there's nothing wrong with the other part.
right.
I just never, I
You didn't
just
have time.
I didn't have time. It's like the car salesperson. They need to know about the air conditioner, but they don't need to know where the fitting is to insert in the new. I don't even know what this called. We used to call it Freon. It's something else now. But I don't know how to change the oil, but I know how to sell the car that has the oil.
Yes.
And so so both are important. I'm not saying one's not important. And again, somebody needs to know the loan stuff, because we don't want things to go awry. So
I'm glad I asked you that, Carl, because I've known you a long, long time and I've never asked you that question. So, inquiring minds want to know. So now people know. So
yeah,
you're so good at it, at the marketing end of it. But I was wondering if you liked it right away when you did it. There's a reason I'm asking this question. Did you like it right away? Did you have to push yourself a little bit?
I had to push myself because I was scared,
Uh-huh.
right? Because I had, some people call it the imposter syndrome.
Yes.
For me, it wasn't the imposter syndrome. I was an imposter because I didn't know. Like I didn't feel like I didn't know.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know.
Hmm.
And so when somebody, uh, yeah, when somebody was talking about, I was talking to a realtor. I never forget. I was talking to this realtor, and they said, "Is FHA still 3%?" Uh, Hang on, let me make a call real quick. So I really didn't know. So for me, it was that I had somebody else that taught me something one long time ago. He said, "Carl, risk looking stupid. Risk looking stupid. Now, I don't think anybody ever would look at me, you, or anybody else, anybody that's listening and go, what? He's stupid. She's stupid. Now they might not, they might say, oh, he doesn't know that,
Mm-hmm.
but that doesn't make us stupid.
No.
And I think that's a big thing is we're so afraid that somebody's going to ask us something that we don't know.
Yes.
And somehow that makes us look stupid. But the same thing, like if I go ask one of my assistants, hey, can we XYZ? And they say, I'm not sure. Let me go check real quick. I'll let you know in about 15 minutes. I don't for one second think, well, he's stupid.
No.
She's stupid. I just think, awesome, I'll have the answer here in 15 minutes. And so it'll press on. So anyway, I don't know if that's the answer you were looking for, but
It is. Thank you for answering that, because that's the thing is loan officers who know a lot and are really, really good, and it's been their baby from day one, they have a hard time going out and getting the person and then
mm,
letting go. That's the number one thing. When I ask loan partners who come through our training, and we've had over 1,000 now come through our training,
good
and
for
when
you.
you,
Good for
thanks to
you.
you
What a
telling
successful
people about us.
story. What a successful story. Good for you.
Thank you. But when we've had them, we ask them, what is the number one thing that holds you back from doing your job the way you want to do it? And it's always the number one thing is always my loan officer doesn't let me do my job. They
Mm,
step in, and we explain, well, it was their baby from day one and it's really hard. So you need to do what you're supposed to do. And then you need to let them know, remind them, let go, loan officer. I'm here to help you. I got your back. I'm going to take care of you. And then prove it to them. Because the minute you don't, they're going to step right in again. But that's it. It's letting go. And you were
mm.
able to let go maybe because you didn't know as much as some of these loan officers that are.
Well, let me tell you the true story. Now that I know where you're going with this, let me tell you the true story. So you're right. It was easier for me because I didn't know.
Mhm,
And so it would have been very difficult for me to say, here, let me do this because I know it better than you because I didn't.
mhm.
But in time, I knew parts of it really good, really well. Right. And I'll never forget a time where Diane, and I don't remember what it was, but Diane's working on a loan. And I come in and I go, well, what if we did this and that and this and that? And she said, look, you hired me to do this job. Is this my job or is this your job?
Yes.
It's your job. Well, then let me, and Diane, this is not her, right? She said, well, then let me do my job and you go do your job.
Uh-huh.
And so she kind of thumped me in the chest a little bit, right? Out
Mhm.
of frustration, right? And I think it's important. I respected her on a level like never before. And I've always respected her, of course, right? But when she did that, it changed our relationship in a very good way.
Mhm.
And I think it's important to tell our assistants when they come to work with us, say, hey, Bob or hey, Susan, here's how this works. Your job is to keep me out of the files. And Bob, Susan, if I start to stick my nose where it doesn't belong, I want you to kind of thump me on the chest a little bit and tell me to go back out there and close some more loans or get some more, referrals. And I think giving them permission, not to be disrespectful, right? So Diane was never disrespectful, nor me to her,
Right.
but to challenge me
Yes.
and to make it crystal clear that my responsibility is to go bring more loans in, which by the way, I find, and I know your training, one of the focuses of it is that turning your assistants, a lot of people think an assistant is overhead. It's an expense. I can't afford it because it's an expense. And what they don't understand that when they're doing the right activities, doing it the right way and using the scripts and the follow-up that you teach them, that it turns them from being an overhead or it turns them from being an expense to a profit center
Yes.
where they don't just free me up so I can get more loans. I know in your program, you teach them when they're talking to the listing agent, when they're talking to my referral partners, when they're talking to the borrower and the co-borrower and the title company and the insurance company and all these other people that are involved in the loan to always be asking for even more referrals for me.
Mhm.
And that when they help me bring in even just another 2 loans a month, that not now that assistant is free
Yes.
to me And
Mhm.
I think that was a big aha moment too, when when you showed us that they're not an expense, they're a profit center. Um, that was a major game changer for me.
Yeah, and the thing is that they're happy to do it if you teach them the right way and they don't think they're doing sales.
Yeah,
And if they're asking on the loan officer's behalf, it's not selling. They're helping people when they
yeah,
ask.
yeah.
That's the main.
And they're following a script,
Yes, the script
right?
makes it easy. And if they practice the script, just like anybody who's going to be good at anything practices. And that's another thing we teach them is to practice. Every day when they come in the morning, they should be going through the script so that they get more and more comfortable with it. And so it's really fun. I love training them because I know it's helping people. I know it's helping the loan officer, it's helping them have job security, and it's helping the clients and the referral partners. When they send someone to that loan officer, they're going to get a wow experience when they come to them. And I just think it's fun. It's been a real fun experience to.
Hey, well, let me ask you this. So if I want to get a look at that hiring checklist that you have,
Mhm.
and to find out more about how you train our assistants and teach me how to who does what and how to hire them, what's the best way to reach out and get some of this stuff?
Yes, they can. They have a. We do a free consultation, and it's going to show them all the different classes and things that will help them. It's called talktothetrainers.com. They can schedule a time, and it's free.
Talktothetrainers.com.
Talktothetrainers.com.
And I can get so when I go there, I can get a copy of the I just tell you guys I want a copy of the hiring checklist, and as a
Yes,
as a random act of coolness, you'll give us that.
yes, we will.
I
Yes,
like
absolutely.
I like that. So, how does the training work? How often is it? Do we fly out to where you are? Do you fly out to us? Is it online, like, or is it recorded, or what does it look like?
We do it on Zoom live. And the WOW training, it's very interactive class. So the WOW training that teaches them how to wow clients, that is a very interactive. We're talking to them. They have to have camera and audio so that we can, it's like being live, but we're not live because it's very expensive for people to send them to Phoenix and across the country like we used to do pre
So now
20.
it's all online.
Now it's all online.
And so is this class, is it something that I send my assistants to, or do I go to it and then I train the assistant? Like, what does this look like?
Yes, so it's traditionally it's been for the assistant to come to, and then they go back trained, and we talk with the loan officer and touch base and let them know what they learned, and they get a copy of the workbook as well as the loan partner does. So
Okay.
typically it's them. But now with things the way they are, I think we've been missing the mark. We should be asking loan officers to come as well. So we're going to be doing a webinar. And the webinar, it's a free webinar, and we're going to be talking about what we cover in our classes, but it's going to be more showing them how they can help their assistants. And then, of course, if they want to send them to us for training, they can, but we're going to give them some good value in the webinar.
Yeah.
So the loan officers can come if they want to. In the past, Carl, to be honest, the reason I didn't want loan officers on is because, first of all, I wanted the loan partners to be able to speak freely so that we could talk
Be
openly.
safe, right?
Yeah, it's a safe space. And also, I didn't want to turn it into sales. And you know how it is when loan officers get on and they start going down a rabbit hole and they start talking about sales, and we're in
Mhm.
there with loan partners who don't want to market. That's not
Right.
their thing. We want to focus in on what they do. And that's why I haven't. So I have had a couple loan officers. Um, they have sat on it without saying anything and without their camera or anything so that they can listen in
So
on.
so we get duct tape and put over the loan officers, right?
You know exactly what I'm talking
But
about.
that's what you'd have to do to me. I'm not speaking of anybody but Carl here. So
Yeah.
how many weeks is it? Like, is it how does that work?
So it's on a Thursday and a Friday of one week, and then Thursday, Friday the following week. But it's only 2.5 hours a day because I think that's all people can handle,
Yeah.
especially when they're loan partners and they're busy. Two and a
Yeah.
half hours on Thursday, Friday, and the same thing the following Thursday, Friday. So it's a 10-hour course. And depending on how many people we have in the class, once in a while we let them out a little early, but
Yeah.
that's the WOW training. The next class is client conversion training that teaches the upfront loan partners how to convert even better the client. And then they can turn it over to the next loan partner that takes it from contract to close. But it teaches them how to convert really well. And then the one that we have online is a boot camp, and it's for people that are newer to the business or have never been trained properly. And it teaches them how to be a loan assistant. I've had loan officers, brand new loan officers, take the class as well. And they're all on our website of loanteamtraining.com. All three of the classes are on there.
All right, very good. Well, cool. Hey, is there anything I should have asked you today that I didn't?
No, I can't think of
I think we
anything.
covered it.
I was going to go back to your when you had a hard or when you decided to market when you were first in it. I was going to go back to why I asked you that question, because
Okay.
loan officers, a lot of them would rather not be out marketing, right? A lot of them would rather do the loans. So what I wanted to say is they can hire someone to go get the business if they don't want to do it. Because what'll happen is they'll keep not doing it. They'll keep putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And one thing I learned from you, Carl, is that it doesn't have to be you that does any part of the job. If you don't enjoy doing it and you're going to put it off, it's better to hire someone that can do that for you.
Boy, isn't that the truth? Yeah, whatever that is. I think I've shared this before, but maybe not. I've got a very dear, actually, Lori, right, the one that was originally helping me.
Uh-huh.
One of my favorite stories. So she was my processor, or one of them, and
Mm-hmm.
excellent, right? Excellent. And she was paid very fairly, very generously. But processors make, well, what processors make, right?
Yes.
It's got a ceiling. Like
Mm-hmm.
a loan officer can make 5, 6, 7 million dollars a year. We know loan officers that are doing that, not
Yes.
as branch managers, but individual loan officers. And so it's unlimited. But a processor, I mean, there's a cap, right?
Mm-hmm.
It just is. And she was probably above that cap by some, and she deserved every bit of it, right? So she came to me one day. She says, I need to make more. I want to make more money. I said, well, Lori, hey, you're awesome. You're wonderful. But you're at the high end of processors. She said, well, what can I do? And I said, well, you could become a loan officer.
Mm-hmm.
So she said, all right, that's what I want to do. I said, perfect. I said, I'll go get you a processor, right?
Uh-huh.
So she started doing the loan officer stuff, and frankly, she was doing good at it.
Mm-hmm.
And she came to me, I don't know, 3 months, 6 months later, something like that. Say, hey, I need to talk to you. And I thought she was going to tell me how great it was working because she was closing some loans, right? She goes, I hate this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, gosh, you seem to have a knack for it. No, I didn't say I couldn't do it. I just don't. I love processing.
Uh-huh.
I said, well, Lori, it comes back to you know, I don't know what to tell you. She goes, hey, I love you. I appreciate you. I'm so grateful. I think I'm going to go do my own thing, though.
Hmm.
Totally cool, right? She did the class act. She did the right way. Totally cool. Well, what she ended up doing was she opened up a mortgage company, and she was the processor, and she hired loan officers.
Uh-huh.
And so she proved to me that it was kind of like a nurse hiring doctors,
Mm-hmm.
right? That she owned the company, and she was one of several processors that worked there, and she hired somebody to go get business. And so that proved to me that we can get our assistant to do anything,
Yes.
and she proved it. Even some of these, what we would call a backwards relationship, certainly unconventional.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's nothing that you can't teach an assistant to do, like nothing.
That's
And I
true.
think it's our sick mind that goes, yeah, but only I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's either one of two things: either A, my sick mind telling me that, or B, I've never had somebody to teach me or to teach my assistant on how to do those things.
Mm-hmm.
That I thought I was the only one to do it. There is nothing on earth that somebody else can't also do,
Yes.
like whatever that thing is.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, well, good stuff. What was that website again, Irene?
Well, the one to consult with us is a free consultation is talktothetrainers.com. But the website to find out about information and if you want to email us at Irene and Kevin at Loan Team Training, we will send that hiring a loan partner checklist out to you.
All right, cool. Or I
Yes.
can just go again. Give me that website one more time.
Loanteamtraining.com.
Loanteamtraining.com. loanteamtraining.com, and I can go there and set an appointment up with you guys and show me, you can show me what you guys do.
Yes. Sorry, I
Awesome.
told you wrong. Loanteamtraining.com is our regular website, and talktothetrainers.com is where you can set up a time to
So
talk with.
talktothetrainers.com.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Talktothetrainers.com. So real good stuff. Hey, and I think everybody knows this, that we don't do any paid endorsements on this podcast, that I bring on people that I think are just at the top of their game, that really help people. And there's no monetary share ever. I've never once had a monetary share on the podcast here. It's just we hire winners that help the winners. And that's, you're definitely a winner in this industry, very well known, very well respected, and I appreciate all the good stuff you do to everybody. And I highly recommend you, not because somebody's putting $1 in my pocket, but because you're amazing at what you do, and I'm very grateful. We've known each other now for what, probably 15 years, I guess, something like that. So a
Yeah,
long
long
time.
time.
So
Well, I
forever
appreciate you,
grateful,
Carl.
Irene.
I'm forever grateful for you, and I'm grateful that you've told so many people about this training. It has really been a game changer and helped a lot of people,
I
including
see
me and
that.
my
Over a
family.
thousand. Man, that's impressive. Good for you.
Yes.
That's impressive. Good for you. All right, my friend. I appreciate you,
All
Irene.
right.
Thanks so much for everything you do, my friend.
I appreciate you too. Have a good one. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.